Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely mind-bending. We're looking at what actually happens when your consciousness wakes up, but your dream is far from over. It's this wild phenomenon that completely bridges the gap between pure biology and sheer imagination. Picture this. You're just standing in your kitchen, and out of nowhere, you notice your dog is sitting at the table. And not only that, he's acting as your accountant, explaining tax law to you with, honestly, suspicious confidence. Now, in an ordinary dream, you just accept this bizarre hallucination as complete reality. Of course the kitchen opens up to the ocean. Of course the dog is a CPA. Your brain simply absorbs the absolutely impossible without a single second thought. Part 1. The Lucid Awakening, Becoming Conscious. So that exact moment of anomaly, where a little thought suddenly pops up and tells you, wait a minute, this world is totally fake, that is a metacognitive act. Metacognition just means thinking about your own mental state. Your brain has essentially constructed a version of you, placed that self into a completely fake world, and then, somehow, allowed you to discover that the whole shebang is just a construction. You suddenly recognize that your own mind is producing the very kitchen you're standing in. Now, ordinary dreams aren't lacking consciousness, right? I mean, you still genuinely feel fear and desire and pain. What they're lacking is insight. An ordinary dream operates a lot like a chaotic play, a theater performing without a director, where scenes just kind of happen randomly. But a lucid dream, that's when the director suddenly steps right onto the stage and realizes that the actors, the audience, and the building itself are all part of the exact same production. Part 2. Proving the impossible. The eye signal. For the longest time, researchers were understandably super skeptical about all this. I mean, how do you scientifically verify a purely subjective story about a dream? Well, here is the exact sequence of how they finally proved it. Step 1. The sleeper goes into REM sleep. Because of a state called REM atonia, your skeletal muscles are completely paralyzed, so you don't physically act out your dreams. But, and this is absolutely crucial, your eye muscles remain active. Step 2, you achieve lucidity. Step 3, you intentionally move your dream gaze left, right. And step 4, your physical eyes actually mirror that exact movement beneath your closed eyelids. This lets sleepers send deliberate, pre-agreed messages to researchers while remaining completely asleep. How cool is that? And this two-way communication, it opened the door to some truly incredible experiments, like tracking the actual flow of time. If a dreamer signals the start of a counting task, counts to 20 and signals again, the waking and dream times match up perfectly. It completely busted that popular myth, the one where you can live an entire second lifetime during a short 20-minute nap. Actually, scratch that. It's not a second lifetime at all. Tests prove that a 10-second count inside a dream takes roughly 10 seconds of physical time in the real world. Part 3. The hybrid brain, waking versus dreaming. So how exactly does this weird hybrid state exist somewhere between ordinary dreaming and reflective waking consciousness? Well, during a lucid dream, the prefrontal and parietal cortex actually reactivate. Now, the sleeping brain doesn't turn absolutely everything back on, but it restores just enough executive function in these specific regions for you to critically evaluate your situation. It brings back self-reflection, directing your attention, your working memory, and voluntary control. Basically, it gives you just enough juice to recognize the illusion. Part 4. Lucidity versus control. Insight versus action. Okay, let's clear up a massive misconception right now. A lot of people assume that becoming lucid automatically makes you an all-powerful god of your dream world, but that's definitely not true. Lucidity is simply the insight that you were dreaming. Control, that is a completely separate and honestly unreliable skill of altering the dream. You really have to remember that your deliberate intention is constantly competing against your brain's deeply ingrained expectations. Meaning, if you truly expect a locked door to stay locked, it's not going to open just because you logically know the physical locks doesn't exist. This brings us to a huge realization. Certainty is a feeling produced by the brain. The brain isn't just dimly picturing a scene in your head, it is fully rendering one with pressure and texture and weight. It just goes to prove that our absolute certainty about reality, the solidity of a wall, the warmth of the sun on your face, is simply a feeling generated entirely internally by our neural networks. Part 5. Glitches in the system, when boundaries blur. But what happens when this super delicate balance gets thrown off? Well, the boundaries blur and you can experience some pretty terrifying glitches. Take sleep paralysis, for example. Your waking mind is alert and scanning for threats, but your body is still completely paralyzed from that REM atonia, leaving you trapped and terrified. Or consider false awakenings. This is where you're still dreaming and your body is paralyzed, but your brain simulates your exact morning routine in a fake bedroom, completely tricking you into believing you've actually woken up and started your day. So, to navigate these highly convincing illusions, experienced dreamers use what we call reality tests. This means doing things like trying to read a piece of text twice to see if the words scramble, checking a clock, counting your fingers, or just trying to breathe through a pinched nose. By practicing these tests while you're awake, the habit of critical reflection eventually bleeds over into your sleep cycle, and that really helps you verify which state you're actually in.
Part 6, the consciousness test, limits of the mind.
As we wrap up and look at the strict limitations of this whole phenomenon, one absolute truth really stands out. The dream cannot teach you facts it never had. If your sleeping brain doesn't already know how to repair a car engine, handing a clipboard to a mechanic in your dream isn't going to teach you anything new. Every single character, every word, every landscape is generated strictly by the knowledge and memories you already have. But hey, even with those limitations, this state has some incredible, deeply meaningful uses. It acts as an internal simulator where genuine fear and genuine relief actually happen. You can use it to confront recurring nightmares, mentally rehearse motor skills you're already familiar with, recombine memories for a huge burst of creativity, or just explore deep psychological reactions. You can literally walk up to a nightmare, ask what it represents, and receive an answer built entirely from your own unconscious emotions. Ultimately, lucid dreaming proves something amazing. Reflective self-awareness can arise inside a generated world without instantly ending it. The conscious self controls very little of the mind, yet we have this astonishing ability to experience a reality while simultaneously knowing exactly what kind of fake reality we're experiencing. So, I'll leave you with this thought to ponder tonight. If you suddenly found yourself awake inside a universe made entirely of your own expectations and memories, what is the very first thing you would try to discover? Thank you for exploring the mind with me on this explainer. Sweet dreams.